process of counter conditioning is all about changing associations. I always make sure that owners understand that there's already a negative emotional response to whatever particular environment or context or stimulus that we're working against. The process and treatment itself is actually fairly simple. We present the trigger at a low enough threshold that the animal's relaxed in, and we follow it up immediately with a yippee moment. We then repeat that process until we see the animal anticipate the yippee moment with the presentation of the trigger. I again use the analogy of the ladder, and we would form a training program with the owners indicating when to move forward and when to step up onto the next rung. It's very important that they don't move too quickly, and at this particular program I always find that owners are desperate to get to the target behaviour, and so they rush through the foundations. So I always set up really clear goals where I would want to see the client again before allowing them to move on to the next stage in the training program. So just going to observe one of the sessions that we've done with Kai in the vet suite. We've done a little warm up with him now, just allow him to come to terms and soak up the atmosphere in here. So we just ask him to take his layout behaviour, which is just a nice calm sit, relax, don't grub, don't try and steal any treats. And we just introduce some approximation of touch, which is just a finger moving towards him, which he can cope with nice and easily. A little bit of duration, and we get a little bit of fiddle about behaviour moving away, so we just get another little touch with calmness and click and treat. Make it easier for him here because he did find the duration too difficult. And we'll just move him on. Give him a nice easy one to finish with and move him on. Introduce some touch in his green zones. Get him relaxed again. Ask him to take up his layout behaviour before we move on with the rest of the process. So you just get a little bit fiddly there, and what we want to do is just make it slightly easier for him again. So we're just going to come back to distance. But as we come back to distance, we can increase duration a little bit. So a little bit of duration. Slightly more duration this time. A little distraction as well. And as we can see, the animal really calm, really relaxed. That's his job. We've got nice appeasement behaviours going on. He's very obvious in telling us when he's had enough, when it's too much. So just moving into a red zone, so very small touch, very gentle, tiny duration, click and treat. Okay, start at distance. As we move towards him there, just a little bit of anticipation of moving to his red zone. So we've seen a little paw lift, a little bit of fiddle about with the mouth coming towards us. And that is his way of telling us. So we just went too hard, so just want to make it nice and easy again this time. Into the amber area of the collar, back up to the red zone, click and treat. And his behaviour is very, very obvious, but that little shuffle forward there, just a little bit, came out of his layout behaviour, so he's just telling us he's had too much, and a bit of fool around behaviour now as well. So again, being nice and fluid as a trainer, we need to be ready to and flexible to move the session on and change it. So we just want to give him a wee bit of time to calm himself back down again and soak up the atmosphere. We can see he's not ready to start yet, so he just needs to take himself away, go and have a little shake off before we start to think about training again. So we'll start, because he's had a little fool about, we need to warm him back in, a little bit of duration, but we don't want to stay in the same rung too quick, and we certainly don't want to be going back sub-threshold with areas that he can deal with very easily. So just warm him up quickly with some distance, add a little duration, and then we want to move back into the crux of the lesson towards the red zones. Just moving a little bit too fast there, moved him super threshold, so we've stepped up a couple of rungs too quickly. So we need to come back into an amber area, nice and easy onto the collar, click and treat. Collar, click and treat. We just want to give him a couple on this rung of the ladder before we move him forward again. So the key is always to be pushing the program and pushing the treatment from what you can see behaviourally from the animal. So we're always watching for his signals of appeasement or to see how he reacts to us before we move forward and try to make it a little bit harder. Just a little bit fiddly still in here, so we're just going to continue to work on this simple behaviour of I'm going to touch a collar, a little bit of duration, click and treat. I'm just going to move into the ear, nice behaviour, tiny bit of duration, very gentle touch to get the click and treat and a nice response. So I'm just going to touch here again, increase the duration very slightly before he gets the click and treat. I'm just seeing a little fiddle about there, and that was really bad training because I asked him to practice the behaviour of letting me touch his ear, and although I didn't grasp the ear, I tried to get it again. He never failed in his behaviour. That was my failing in being able to hold the ear, and so it just confused him very slightly, and this is a result of that confusion now. I had 2 attempts at trying to touch his ear. He never got clicked when he expected to get clicked, so we just seen that little bit of frustration go up. So really simple to do, and we can see that for owners that would be a very simple thing. So when the animal gets the behaviour right, they have to get a click and treat regardless of whether or not we achieved what we wanted to achieve from it. He's just taking up a different little position now onto the floor, and we'll just let him fool around a little bit and just settle himself down again, because after that little bit of frustration he usually has a little fiddle. So the anticipation now of ear touch has been slightly tarnished. So the rung, he's went super threshold, the rungs have went too hard. So we do need to work just a little bit more gently now, much more easily around about. So just going to start to work in the red areas again, get him nice and calm, nice and relaxed, give him some easy treats. And take his ear, add a little bit of duration. Now being very careful that we don't tarnish it again. Now we've established that behaviour, we don't want to tarnish it again, so we can increase duration and we can increase distraction of what I'm doing whilst he's in that behaviour. So we're now getting a good second and a half of the duration of the behaviour. Everything else is obvious, the anticipation of the movement of the hand towards the ear, the taking of the ear, the looking in the ear. And a really nice little duration in the behaviour there, starting to develop into something nice that we can start to maybe push it a little bit harder and look on to the next round. We get nice relaxed behaviours. He's very sure of what his job is in it. And so we can continue working in these red areas. And that was a really nice trial where we had some nice duration, a little bit of increased touch, and he looked really calm through that trial. So in this one we've got duration, we've got touch, and we've got a little bit of distraction from the handler now looking in the ear and a little bit of handler movement. So we've got 3 or 4 different components to the behaviour being added on top of each other to make it more difficult. So we'll just get another one of those and then we'll finish this session. A little bit of looking, a little bit of duration, nice click and treat, really good session. In this training session we've worked on a number of different things with Kai. We've progressed his desensitisation program, and now we're able to have him in the vet room surrounded by some of the compound stimuli that we've been working against previously. And this is a huge leap forward for him, especially to have seen him so relaxed and calm, which was really impressive. We also developed the layout behaviour a little bit, which was good to see, and although the strength disappeared a little bit, because we had moved into a new and novel environment, we expected to see this anyway, and so just a little bit more training of the layout behaviour within this environment, and I'm sure we'll see some real strength in it. From a counter conditioning perspective, it was really a good session for Kai. The session itself included pushing him super threshold so that we could see what his fiddle about behaviours are. This is essential for owners to see that if they push him too hard, then the animal is going to go into that fiddle about behaviour, or even worse, in order to tell us that we have been inappropriate or pushed slightly too hard. So from a counter conditioning perspective, we always want to be operating on the appropriate rung of the ladder. And we need to be working with the different variables within the context. So in this case with touch, we wanted to be increasing duration of the touch. We also wanted to increase how hard we were touching, and because we were doing an ear examination, we wanted to increase the distraction that was happening round about the touch as well for Kai. So overall for Kai, this was a really nice session, and it's really provided us with some good information of his foundation that we can now build upon. For the purposes of the video, we did go super threshold so that we could see exactly what happened and describe it, and we worked a little bit of sub threshold, which we don't want to do too much, but overall a really nice session for Kai.